Western military trainers are doing something that should be impossible, teaching Ukrainian soldiers how to fight a war they've never experienced themselves. And somehow, it's working brilliantly. More than 56,000 Ukrainian troops have been trained under Operation Interflex since June 2022, creating one of the most unusual but effective military training programs in modern history.
Well, we're going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and at the end of that meeting, probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made.
How will you know that?
Because that's what I do. I make deals.
That's what he does. He makes deals, and our world lead officials are rushing to finalize the logistics of Friday's Trump-Putin summit in Alaska. As of now, only limited details have been announced, including the city, the venue where the two world leaders will meet, and more. Officials are also working out what topics are going to be allowed to be discussed, although President Trump hopes to yield significant progress towards ending the war in Ukraine. He is going to do that without Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky present for that conversation. At least that's the plan as of now.
The story begins with an emergency. When Russia launched its full-scale invasion, the UK had to quickly relocate its Ukrainian training program from Ukraine itself to British soil. What started as a desperate measure has transformed into the largest military training effort on UK territory since World War II. The numbers tell only part of the story. Over 50,000 Ukrainian soldiers trained by November 2024, with the program extended through 2025. But beneath these statistics lies a fascinating paradox. Many of the Western instructors teaching these battle-hardened Ukrainians have never fought anything remotely like the war they're preparing for. Think about the contradiction for a moment. Ukrainian soldiers arrive straight from the trenches of Bakhmut and other frontline positions, fresh from drone attacks and artillery bombardments that would make World War I veterans nod in recognition. Meanwhile, some of their British instructors learned their trade in the counterinsurgency campaigns of Iraq and Afghanistan, conflicts where Western forces enjoyed overwhelming air superiority and faced smaller, less equipped adversaries.
One of the misunderstandings that the administration has had going into this all along is that Putin just wants land, that he wants the Donbass. But that's just not what this is about. That's not why he invaded Ukraine. He invaded Ukraine to demilitarize Ukraine, to denazify Ukraine, and to really conduct regime change. And so as long as that hasn't happened and Putin thinks he's winning, and he is, then you're not going to see any kind of meaningful peace deal come out of a land deal.
If you think Putin is winning, what do you think is the point of this meeting?
I think that Trump is trying once again, and other presidents have done this too, they just really have this belief in the sheer power of their own personality to bring Putin around, right? He seems very reasonable in person, someone you can deal with. He's pragmatic, or at least he seems that way. But in general, every single president that has tried this has been disappointed in the end.
I want to bring something to the group. During his campaign last year, Donald Trump was talking about his ability to end wars, and he's always had his eye on ending the war in Ukraine. Here's how he talked about it.
The gap in experience becomes even more stark when you consider the nature of modern combat in Ukraine. Russian forces are conducting operations that Western militaries haven't seen since the Second World War. They're using small saboteur groups to breach defense lines, creating passages for larger forces while maintaining constant artillery pressure. Ukraine is fighting a conventional war against one of the world's largest militaries, with no control of the skies and facing relentless artillery bombardments that NATO hasn't experienced for generations.
Whereas if you know how the Russian troops function, they usually first bring in saboteurs, little groups of people that may or may not breach the Ukrainian defense lines. They don't get a foothold afterwards, once they disrupt the army, but they create a first passage that they manage to keep or not, and that's very much what Ukraine emphasized yesterday as to those advances. The situation is chaotic in that region. Reinforcement has been sent also, but also it's difficult to verify the claims that Russia really seized those villages.
Ukrainian soldiers have been brutally honest about these gaps in Western training. Members of frontline brigades point out that Western instructors often use examples from Middle East operations, focusing on urban warfare and insurgent tactics that aren't relevant to fighting across open fields under constant drone surveillance. The training initially emphasized skills like house clearing and population control, while Ukrainian soldiers desperately needed to learn trench warfare, mine clearance, and drone defense, skills that Western militaries had largely forgotten.
On the front line are in agreement.
To just give away how many people have died. You understand how many people have died. Just to give away? Give away to whom? Give away for what?
But some think a ceasefire and bolstering their current defences is needed.
They are already lost. These territories are lost. It will take hundreds of years to restore them. Not dozens, but hundreds. The coming generations will have to take care of them.
Yet this seemingly impossible situation has produced remarkable results. Colonel Boardman, the commanding officer for Operation Interflex, openly acknowledges this unusual dynamic. He's conscious of the need for credibility despite lacking up-to-date combat experience of this type. But rather than seeing it as a weakness, he argues that the institutional credibility and expertise of Western military doctrine provides genuine value. The key insight driving the program's success is that this isn't about Western instructors having superior battlefield experience. It's about combining Ukrainian frontline knowledge with NATO's systematic approach to warfare. The training creates a fascinating feedback loop where theory meets brutal practice in real time. Ukrainian soldiers who've been fighting in trenches for months sometimes correct their instructors on tactics they used in combat just weeks earlier. These insights are then immediately incorporated into the training program, creating a constantly evolving curriculum. When a Ukrainian soldier explains how Russian drones actually behave in combat, that knowledge gets integrated into the next training cycle. When Western instructors demonstrate NATO communication protocols, Ukrainian soldiers figure out how to make them work in trenches under artillery fire. What makes this work is the humility of the approach. Western instructors aren't trying to impose their vision of warfare on Ukraine. Instead, they're providing a framework that Ukrainian soldiers can adapt based on their actual combat experience. It's like having Formula One drivers teach tank crews. The fundamental principles of speed and precision translate, even if the vehicles are completely different. The program reveals how different nations contribute unique expertise to create something no single military could provide alone. Finnish instructors teach forest warfare techniques that Ukrainians lack. British forces provide systematic approaches to logistics and medical care. Canadian instructors bring cold weather fighting experience. Each contributing nation adds specialized knowledge, building a comprehensive training program layer by layer. This mutual learning has benefits that extend far beyond Ukraine. Key lessons from Ukrainian combat experience are feeding directly into Western military planning as NATO prepares for potential future conflicts. European militaries are discovering that their assumptions about modern warfare need serious updating. The idea that air superiority and technological advantages would dominate any major conflict is being challenged by Ukrainian experiences of fighting without air cover against an industrialized military power. By November 2024, Operation Interflex had trained 50,000 Ukrainian soldiers, with 89% reporting they felt better equipped to survive on the battlefield. The success rate is remarkable considering the challenges involved. These aren't career soldiers with years of training. Many are civilian volunteers who joined Ukraine's military with little or no combat experience. They're being prepared for one of the most brutal conflicts in modern history by instructors who learned warfare in completely different circumstances. The program's success challenges fundamental assumptions about military training. Traditional military education emphasizes learning from experienced instructors who fought similar wars. Operation Interflex proves that systematic training methods, combined with adaptive curriculum and mutual learning, can be more effective than simply having instructors with relevant combat experience. The key is institutional knowledge combined with humility and willingness to learn from students who've seen more recent combat. What's emerging is a new model of military cooperation that could reshape how allies train together. Instead of one-way knowledge transfer from experienced to inexperienced forces, Operation Interflex demonstrates the value of bidirectional learning. Ukrainian soldiers gain systematic military skills and NATO compatibility. Western instructors gain insights into modern conventional warfare that their own militaries haven't experienced in decades. The implications extend beyond the current conflict. As European militaries prepare for potential future challenges, they're incorporating Ukrainian lessons about drone warfare, artillery defense, and fighting without air superiority. The knowledge gained from training Ukrainian soldiers is reshaping NATO doctrine and forcing Western militaries to dust off capabilities they thought were obsolete. Operation Interflex also demonstrates how smaller nations can contribute to major military efforts. Estonia, Lithuania, Denmark, and other NATO members are providing instructors and specialized expertise that enhances the overall program. This distributed approach to military training creates redundancy and brings diverse perspectives that strengthen the final product. The program's continuation through 2025 suggests that this model of military cooperation will outlast the current conflict. Even after the war ends, the lessons learned from combining Ukrainian battlefield experience with Western systematic training will influence military education for years to come. The mutual learning approach pioneered by Operation Interflex could become a template for future military partnerships. Perhaps most importantly, Operation Interflex proves that military effectiveness isn't just about having the most experienced instructors or the most advanced equipment. It's about creating systems that can adapt, learn, and evolve based on real-world experience. The program's success comes from combining Ukrainian courage and battlefield knowledge with Western organizational skills and systematic approaches to training. The story of Operation Interflex is ultimately about the power of collaboration and humility in military affairs. Western instructors who could have insisted on teaching only their own doctrine instead created space for Ukrainian soldiers to share their hard-won knowledge. Ukrainian soldiers who could have dismissed Western training as irrelevant instead embraced new techniques and equipment that enhanced their effectiveness. This unusual partnership, experienced Ukrainian fighters learning from Western instructors who've never fought their kind of war, has created something greater than the sum of its parts. It's proof that in military affairs, as in many other fields, the willingness to learn and adapt can be more valuable than any single type of experience. Thanks for watching. If you want to see how other NATO members are preparing for potential future conflicts, check out our other videos. And if you want to stay updated on how the war in Ukraine is reshaping military training and doctrine across the Western world, be sure to subscribe for more in-depth analyses and breaking news.